everyone. I just want to say, first of all, obviously, on behalf of the NEC, well done for the fantastic turnout we've had today. Martin said earlier on, all the reports that we've had in so far is saying that the strike has held up just as well as July the 10th, if not better in some areas. And I think it is a sort of indication of the depth of anger that exists about the ongoing attacks on PCS members. Before I go into sort of our dispute, I just want to reflect on the comments made by Dave and the colleague from Unison Health. First of all, Dave, I just want to say, first of all, on behalf of the NEC, absolutely full solidarity to you and the Garston Contact Centre workers who I think are absolutely totally courageous in the action that you're taking, as we've seen in the MOJ in Liverpool not long ago as well. And I think it does point, Dave, and I think you are right, to an increasing willingness and increasing realisation from people that maybe we'll have to do more over the coming months to hurt the employer and put them in a position where they've got to begin to talk and listen to us. And the comment from Unison Health, I mean, to be honest, people that know me closely, people that don't know me that closely know that in the last 18 months or so, I've personally had and my family have had a reason to call on the National Health Service. My daughter nearly died when she was born. She was born with a hole in the lung, and basically she was in intensive care, and it was hour by hour for a while. And all the time that she was being cared for, all the time that our family was there bothering the nurses about every little bleep that went off in the room, there never failed to be a smile on the face of the staff, and they never failed to be there for you every single day for whatever you needed, advice, support, just a hug sometimes. And I think it's an absolute disgrace that people like that are having to fight for crumbs off the table, and that's everything that's wrong with the government's austerity. Absolutely full solidarity to your members, and PCS are there and standing ready to stand alongside them on the picket lines whenever they feel the need to go. I think, obviously, I don't know whether you will have seen on the .gov.uk website last night, I think it was yesterday when he posted it, Jeremy Haywood, the Cabinet Secretary, made a personal plea to civil servants. I nearly cried when I read it, to be honest. It was that heartfelt. And he was talking about how the government have done a great job getting the economy back on track. And we can't let it stall now. And he knows how dedicated we are, and he knows we'll be at work on Wednesday. The striking thing was, they made the mistake of leaving a comments thread underneath. And to a person, every single comment pretty much amounted to 2 words, and the second one was off. And one person even said, well, Jeremy, I was unsure about whether to strike, but you just made me mind up for me. And it just points to the sycophantic attitude that they've got towards staff. They've got, I was really doing this morning, this government have got absolutely no problem kicking public sector workers 364 days of the year from pillar to post, telling us we've never had it better, telling us our pay, our conditions, you know, we've got nothing to moan about, lauding about job cuts which they're introducing, lauding about cuts in services, privatisation, and then the day that we choose to take strike action, all of a sudden, oh, the work you do is vital, it's only the customers that you're disrupting. It's absolute hypocrisy, and the sycophants in the government need to do less time trying to put spin out to the press and more time listening to the workforce about what the reality is actually on the ground. And maybe if they did that, would be closer to a settlement in this dispute. I think in terms of the sort of the argument around there's no money, one thing that sort of got lost over, I think, over the last couple of years is because we can get sort of involved when you hear it so often. Sometimes you can allow yourself to sort of sink into that sort of, you know, lowest common denominator argument around, well, there isn't any money, you know, everyone's skint, you know, there's a deficit, there's, you know, private sector workers are not getting a pay rise. But actually, if you look around pretty much every single department, there is money, isn't there? Because there's money to spend on contractors, Millions of pounds. My branch alone has got a pay bill of around about £27 million. This year, so that's the total cost of the whole workforce for the entire year. This year, they set aside a budget of £3 million just for contractors that they were looking to bring in. Just like that. And the sort of 1% of our pay bill is about, what, I'm trying to do the maths now, about £270,000, something along those lines. So that's how much it would cost to give a pay rise under their policy to every single member of staff. Yet you've got £3 million spent on contractors. Overtime, there's a number of people in the room, overtime getting handed out like sweets in departments, paying people double to come in and taking up jobs that should be getting offered into the economy, permanent jobs. Overtime's been getting offered for years in some areas, and they're spending millions on that, but no one bats an eyelid at that at all. At least not the senior managers who are offering it out. And also agency staff. I'm just looking at some colleagues from the UK Visa and Immigration Agency. They'll tell you it's jam-packed with agency staff in there at the moment. Handing over millions and millions of pounds to agencies. Again, permanent jobs that should be filled by permanent civil servants. But they're handing them out to casualise labour in order to undermine our collective response to what they're doing to the services that we provide. But they won't get away with it. And we're here today to say you won't get away with it. And even if the action today and any action taken in the future doesn't get us to the point where Osborne and Co say we were wrong all along, like we know they are, and we're going to break the 1% pay cap, what it does do, it gives a warning to whoever the next government is that more of the same is not good enough and it's not going to be accepted by PCS members or anyone else. I think I've heard a lot of members say to me over the last couple of days, well not a lot, a few members have said to me over the last couple of days, where's the action getting us? What victories have we had? And the truth is, in terms of the national pay cap, that's still in place. It's a hard battle. But where we fought in individual areas, and where we've had the courage to take action, we've won. And I'll give you some examples. The Disclosure and Barring Service. My own branch used to be called the Criminal Records Bureau and Old Money. That's what you might recognise it as. In our branch, we didn't even have to take strike action. Backlogs, we were in pay negotiations with the employer. They were falling far short of what we wanted on the table. Backlogs were rising in the office, in no small part through to the privatisation of a certain part of the service. So, our members didn't even have to take strike action. We launched an overtime ban, which was almost 100% supported by our members. And I'll tell you where that got us. That got us to the point where the minimum wage in the organisation after this pay deal that members have just agreed, 85% of members have voted for on a 92% turnout. I've just agreed to a pay rise, which means the minimum wage in the organisation is going to be higher than both the national and the London living wage, which is absolutely fantastic achievement. It's going to make a massive difference to hundreds of people in our branch. But also other areas, HMPO. You may have seen a news report saying HMPO, Majesty's Passport Office, being moved into the Home Office. What's being less reported is that what that means is 680 extra jobs in the Passport Office. They've increased staff by around about 20% in the organisation. And that was on the back of our campaign, that was on the back of our action, that was on the back of our political campaigning, that we've won that. For the longest time they were saying there was no need for extra staffing. And I have to give an honorary mention to the Land Registry, who I can see Dave Lunn in I was just going to say crowd there, in the audience. The Land Registry campaign, I think, was an absolute model to anyone who wants to fight against privatisation within their group or their workplace. It involved fully engaged members in the group, alongside fully engaged service users who depended on that service, who joined the people who work in the Land Registry to tell the government that privatisation was unacceptable and that they wouldn't support it. And that, in my view, was one of the biggest victories in the history of this union, getting the government to U-turn on one of their centrepiece policy decisions to the point now where privatisation is no longer threatened. So I'd just like to congratulate you, Dave, and every member in the Land Registry for that victory. But that tells us that where we've got the courage to win, we can win. What we do know though, and the NEC accepts this is that one-day strikes are not going to bring the victory that we want. We obviously took the decision to go on October the 15th in solidarity with, as part of the broader week of public sector action, and I think today has vindicated that that decision was absolutely correct. But what we also know is that there's a need for more sustained, targeted action on employers to actually hurt them to the point where the government have got to come back around the negotiating table. And we've been doing work over the last couple of weeks with branches who, in the summer consultation, said to us, we've got a group of members here, a small group of members here, who are prepared to go for a prolonged period, and they can have a massive effect on the services that the employer provide. And that's the next stage in our strategy. In the run-up to the general election, we're going to be looking to raise as much money as possible for the fighting fund, getting members signed over to direct debit, so the government have no longer got that threat hanging over our heads. Getting people signed up to the fighting fund to raise as much money as possible, so in the run-up to the general election, we can put as much pressure on the government as possible and bring our issues out into the public to make it clear that a vote for the same type of policies in 2015 is not something which is in the interest of this country. We'll need everyone's support in relation to doing that. After today, it's going to be as tough as it's always been, but I think if you're in your moments where you're down, and you're in your moments where you're having a hard time in your branch, or you're having a hard time in your job, remember today and remember what we're standing up for, and let's carry this spirit forward now over the next couple of months into the general election, and let's make it clear to the government that we're not going away until such a point as our members get what they deserve. So thank you for solidarity to everyone.